that would be an interesting thing. I would like that. I mean, I wouldn't like being on the road, but I would like to see that.
Some year we may try that. I want to start out by asking you, what's the best thing that's happened at CBS this year, in the past 12 months?
I think the best thing is what we have done about, and it's a word that Glenn mentioned, which is convergence. We talk about our company, and it's become a cliche now, that we're a company that's driving on the freeway at 60 miles an hour and changing the tires at the same time. And by that I mean, we have to operate our businesses. We have to operate our networks, our television stations, our radio stations, our outdoor company, our publishing company. But at the same time, we have to be aware of what's going on with digital convergence. And in every single one of these businesses, we're running our businesses as top speed, but by the same token, we're looking forward and we're looking at the digital space as additive to our core businesses. So if anybody would say, what is the most exciting thing about CBS today is, I think we are successfully, in every single one of those divisions, doing the conversion while continuing to do our core business as best we can.
Okay, of course, that was just a setup question for the real journalist question, which is, what's your biggest liability?
What's my biggest liability? People view our company in a way that we don't think is quite fair. It's an easy label to say CBS is an old media company, and we think nothing could be further from the truth. When you look at every single one of our businesses, from changing the outdoor business to a digital business, where there are digital boards all over the city, and that advertising model has changed drastically, to the fact that we're taking 17,000 titles from Simon & Schuster and putting them online, to the fact that we just made a deal with AOL, where every single one of our radio stations, all 139 of them, you can sit at your desk and get it streamed to you, and we're collecting advertising for it. So we wish the view of CBS was as a company that does things right, but is also clearly moving towards the future. And what amazes me as a CEO is when they want to blame a company or they want to blame an economy, there's an assumption that we're sitting on our hands and saying, oh, woe is me, the economy is challenged, and we're going to do nothing about it. We are proactive with every single one of our businesses. If there's a downturn in the economy, and clearly there is, and it affects some of our businesses at their fringe, and mostly in smaller markets with radio and television stations, we do things to change it. We know how to manage our business, and I think management of your business is a really important thing to do. And when judging companies, there are a lot of guys who know how to lose with a full house. It's when you don't have a great hand and you know how to win, that's the guys I want to bet on. And that's how I look at it.
Before we get into the economy, which I'd like to do, are you happy that your average TV viewer, talk about old media, is kind of an old guy, older person? Does that concern you? I'm thinking they're not as old as I am at this point, right. But by the demographics you generally look at, they're really quite old.
From the time I came to CBS in 1995, we have been the oldest skewing of the four networks. We are to this very day. The only difference is we're now winning in an awful lot of the categories. You know, one of the misnomers, and I've been dealing with this for 15 years, which is one of the silliness of the network business, is that an 18-year-old is considered more important than a 50-year-old in terms of advertising dollars, in terms of discretionary revenue. I remember one of my competitors at their upfront presentation talked about the 18 to 34-year-old upscale demographic. And I said, the only 18 to 34 upscale I know are my children. And they come to me before they want to buy a car because they can't afford it themselves without me helping them. So it's like a bullshit demographic, forgive me. It really is. and the 50-year-old is thrown in the garbage, and some of my competitors don't even mention them. Look, the average age viewer of 60 Minutes is 61 years old, and we make a lot of money on that show.
Because your average correspondent is 80, so so excuse young, but...
I am sending Mike Wallace to knock on your door. You know, the old line, one of the worst 5 words in the English languages. Mike Wallace is at your door. Is that 5 words? Yeah, something.
Okay, but seriously, because it's a very interesting point, I think, for this audience also. I think the argument is that people who are older have become set in their brand choices, and they're not making fresh brand choices.
That's one of the great old wives' tale that has been going on for 30 years. And we have proof that that doesn't exist. Frankly, right now, we sell over half our advertising for a 25 to 54-year-old demographic, which is somewhat older. But once again, the fact that people post 54 literally count for 0 at most networks.
Right.
Obviously, we sell 60 Minutes to an older demographic, and we sell it to financials, and we sell it to pharmaceuticals, because older people need more medicine than younger people, which is a good thing. But it's a system we've been trying to change. Dave Poltrak writes a paper about it just about once a month. And when our 3 competitors are against it, because I don't think American Idol gets too many 55-year-olds. Actually, I think American Idol gets just about everybody, unfortunately. It's a different way of looking at the world, and we think it's unfair. We think the boomer is still where the money is. And that's what we want to go to.
Of course, it's 80 million people, that cohort.
But that's right.
Huge.
That's right. It's a big demographic. Yeah, that's ignored.
I've been interested, you've been speaking quite a bit recently, and you've been talking about the economy every time you speak. And you've been consistently much more positive than most people have been. And I'm curious about that, because essentially you're in a consumer business. Your customers are general consumers, and it's a mass market, and there aren't that many mass markets out there. And it seems the consumer is specifically who's getting crunched the hardest now. So why aren't you getting crunched as they are?
You know, look, our business is over 70% advertising, as we say. We are being affected by the slowdown in the economy. There's no question about it. Number one, the slowdown affects mostly smaller markets first, an area we're not into. We're big national brands. Our TV and radio stations are mostly in major markets. You know, they will be affected, but we're doing things to change that. We just don't sit here and say, oh my God, the economy is bad, therefore business will be terrible. We make adjustments to reflect that. You know, for us to sit here and say everything is hunky-dory with the economy is not true. It isn't. We all know it isn't. But to say there's ways to adjust how you operate your business, how you sell your business, there are cutbacks in some of the personnel that we have, in some of the cost structure, and we are able to manage it. You know, there are some in the content business, which is a lot of what we do, that say the content business is recession-proof. I don't quite buy that 100%, because it isn't 100% recession-proof. Having said that, it is less affected by this than an awful lot of things. And if we continue to produce the top quality content that we do, we will still get what we want. As you look at this economy, the NCAA basketball tournament, just about 100% sold out, way before it was a year ago. Fox got $2.7 million for a 30-second spot in the Super Bowl. That doesn't sound like, in a lot of places, the economy is that bad, you know. Scatter market pricing way up from the upfront. So while it's dumb to ignore the fact that there is a slowdown in the economy, the sky is not falling.